I woke up that morning thinking it would be peaceful. Coffee in hand, the sun was just hitting my backyard. Birds were singing. Everything looked normal. Then I saw it, tires crushing through my freshly mowed lawn. My jaw dropped. That big black SUV was barreling across my property like it owned the place. And guess who was behind the wheel? HOA Karen. She waved at me like she was my neighbor. I didn't wave back. Nope, I froze. My heart started racing. This wasn't just a little mistake. This was bold, too bold. I grabbed my phone, ready to film. I had to prove it. She drove slowly, making sure I saw her. The audacity. I ran down to the yard, shouting, "Hey, what are you doing?" She rolled down her window, smiling like she was hosting a garden party. "Shortcut," she yelled, "shortcut, through my lawn, are you kidding me?" I wanted to scream. Instead, I just took pictures, every tire mark, every bent flower, every smashed sprinkler. I needed evidence. But she didn't care. She drove off before I could even finish. Just like that, she disappeared. I stood there shaking my head. I thought maybe I overreacted. Maybe she didn't see the property line. Maybe, just maybe. Nope, not even close. The next day it happened again. A little earlier, a little faster. She left a huge mark across my flower bed. I swear my roses have PTSD now. I confronted her. "Why do you keep driving on my property?" I asked. She smiled like a cartoon villain. "It's faster this way, don't be so dramatic." I wanted to throw my coffee at her. Instead, I walked back to my house. My stomach was twisting. This wasn't normal. I started noticing a pattern. Every morning around 8:00 a.m. she appeared, always the same car, always the same grin, like she was testing me. I talked to my neighbors, they shrugged. "She's HOA president, you can't fight her." Fight her? Oh, I wasn't thinking about fighting yet. But I knew I had to plan. I had to be ready. Then came the third time. This time she didn't just cross the lawn, she cut through my driveway. My brand new mailbox trembled like it was about to cry. She even left skid marks near the garden gate. I ran outside again. This time I yelled louder, "Stop, stop right there." She looked back, smirked, and pressed the gas. I swear sparks flew off the tires, or maybe that was just my rage. I stormed back inside, my heart pounded. I started thinking she's not just careless, she's daring, she's trying to intimidate me. I checked the camera footage. She drove like a phantom, precise, controlled. It wasn't an accident, it was intentional. I couldn't believe it. My property, my peace, my home, being treated like this by the person in charge of the HOA. And the worst part, I had no idea what she'd do next. I went to bed that night with a plan forming in my head. Cameras, photos, logs. I was going to document every move, every tire mark, every intrusion. Because one thing was clear, HOA Karen wasn't stopping, and neither would I. Little did I know this was only the beginning. The real chaos was just around the corner. I didn't know then, but in just a few days, things would escalate big time. And when they did, I'd realize that sometimes fighting an HOA isn't just about property. It's about survival. I thought the first few times were bad. I was wrong. The next morning I stepped outside, coffee in hand, ready for a quiet start. Then I saw it, tire marks, across my freshly cut lawn, across my flower beds, across the new stone path I spent all weekend laying. And there she was, HOA Karen, driving like she owned the world, smiling like she was on a joyride. I couldn't help it. I yelled, "Stop, are you serious?" She waved, like it was a greeting, like it was nothing. It wasn't nothing, not even close. By the third day, she wasn't subtle anymore. She came at sunrise, speeding through my property like she was dodging imaginary obstacles. I ran outside, my sneakers squished in the wet grass. "This is private property, you can't just..." She cut me off with that same fake, sweet voice. "Relax, I'm just passing through." Passing through, across my property, across my life. I started documenting everything. Phone out, photos, videos, timestamps. I even set up motion sensors. My backyard became a mini surveillance operation. The tension was constant. Every creak of tires on my gravel path made my heart skip a beat. Every shadow near the driveway made me think she was back. Neighbors started whispering. "She's bold," one said. "Crazy," said another. "Crazy doesn't even cover it." One afternoon, she hit my flower bed hard enough to knock over the new garden statue. The gnome, my little ceramic gnome, it lay broken, staring at me. I swear it looked disappointed. I walked outside, furious, hands shaking. "This is insane, you can't just..." She smiled, she always smiled. "Your gnome needed a little excitement." I didn't know whether to laugh or scream. That night I couldn't sleep. I replayed every incident in my mind, every tire mark, every laugh she made like she was untouchable. I realized she wasn't just trespassing, she was testing boundaries. Every time she got away with it, she got bolder. Then came the next level. She started coming back with friends or maybe HOA staff, driving in formation. 2 cars at a time, tire tracks everywhere. My driveway looked like a racetrack. I grabbed my camera, my hands trembling. I filmed everything, every smirk, every wheel crushing my yard. I called the HOA office. "You need to stop her," I said. They laughed. "She's the president," they said. "What are we supposed to do?" I felt the weight of it. The law was on my side, but enforcement, non-existent. The tension grew. Every morning I stepped outside, my stomach twisted. Was today the day she'd crash something bigger? A fence, my car, my house. And I knew one thing for sure, it wasn't going to stop. Then it happened, the most audacious move yet. She drove straight across my new driveway gate, the one I had installed for security. Twisted metal, splintered wood, my heart sank. I ran outside, screaming, "What the hell, Karen?" She stepped out of the car, hands on her hips. "Oops, my bad." My jaw dropped. "Oops, this is private property, you can't just destroy." She interrupted. "Relax, I don't think you need to be so dramatic." Every nerve in my body burned. I couldn't believe this. I couldn't even argue logically anymore. Logic had no place here. I started planning. Cameras, logs, evidence, everything. I knew I had to protect my land before she escalated further. By now my neighbors were watching. Some shook their heads. Some whispered about HOA Karen being insane. But I knew one thing. This wasn't just trespassing anymore. It was psychological warfare. I sat on my porch that night, staring at the tire marks in the moonlight. They looked like scars across my property. And I knew the next time she came, it wasn't going to be small. Something bigger was coming. And I had to be ready. Because HOA Karen wasn't just trespassing anymore, she was escalating, and soon someone was going to pay for it. I woke up that morning, heart racing. I already knew she might be back. And she was. Her black SUV rolled across my lawn again, only this time she wasn't careful. I was on my porch, coffee forgotten, watching in disbelief. She swerved too fast, tires screeching. Crash! A power pole near my driveway snapped. Sparks flew. Smoke rose. My yard smelled like burnt wood. I froze. She climbed out of her car, completely unscathed, smiling like she'd just won a game. And then she did it. She pointed at me. "You did this," she yelled. I blinked. Wait, what? My jaw dropped. My heart was pounding. "You hit the pole. I saw you. I know you were trying to sabotage me." I laughed, not out loud, not yet, but inside I was screaming. Neighbors started coming out of their houses, phones in hand, cameras rolling. Some whispered, "She's insane." Others just shook their heads. I tried to speak. "Karen, I was inside. Look at your tires. Look at the skid marks." She waved me off. "I don't care. I'm calling the HOA and the cops. You're going to pay for this." I couldn't believe it. She crashed into a power pole on my property and blamed me. My stomach twisted. My coffee was cold on the porch. My nerves were fried. I looked at the broken pole. My lawn was ruined. The driveway gate bent. Sparks still sizzled on the grass. And Karen, she smiled. That same fake, sweet smile. I ran to my camera footage. Every angle, every time-stamped clip. She was clearly driving recklessly. Every tire mark, every wheel track, every smashed flower bed, proof. But could I prove it to the HOA or the cops? That was the question. She didn't wait. Within minutes, she was on the phone shrieking about sabotage, about threats, about me. Neighbors watched. Some muttered, "This is going too far." Others stayed silent, afraid to get involved. I walked closer to her SUV. My hands shook, but I stayed calm. "You need to leave," I said. "This is private property. You crashed here. You are responsible." She laughed. "Private property? I'm HOA president. I can do what I want." I could feel my blood pressure spike. This was getting ridiculous. I knew one thing for sure. She wasn't just reckless. She was dangerous. Her car wasn't damaged much. A little dent on the fender, but the pole completely destroyed. I called the utility company immediately. Sparks were still smoldering. They promised to send someone. Karen didn't care. She strutted like she owned the place, pointing fingers at me, shouting, "You're under investigation for property damage." I blinked. "Wait, what, me?" I tried to reason. "Karen, I have footage. I have witnesses. I wasn't even outside." She ignored me. She turned to the gathering crowd. "Everyone saw it. He's guilty." My neighbors looked at me awkwardly. Some were sympathetic, others hesitant. Fear had silenced them. My heart pounded. Sweat ran down my forehead. I had to act fast. I grabbed my phone again. I filmed everything. The bent pole, the tire tracks, the sparks still sizzling on the lawn. I posted it to my private cloud. Backup, evidence, protection. Karen tried to storm off, but then she froze. One of the neighbors, an older man, shook his head. "This isn't right. He didn't do anything." She waved him off, still blaming me. "Don't interfere." The suspense was unbearable. My lawn looked like a war zone, sparks in the grass, twisted metal everywhere. My entire morning had turned into a disaster movie. I stood there, hands on my hips, trying to stay calm. The adrenaline made my mind race. I knew what I had to do. I had to document everything, every tire mark, every incident, every crazy claim she made. Because HOA Karen wasn't just a trespasser anymore. She was a liability. And I wasn't going to let her get away with it. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of her most audacious moves yet. The tension was building. The neighborhood was watching, and I had to stay one step ahead. Because if I didn't, she'd find another way to blame me, or worse. And that was coming sooner than I thought. The morning after the crash, I barely slept. My mind was racing. I knew she wasn't done. Sure enough, she showed up again. Same black SUV, same smug grin, but this time she brought friends. 2 more cars rolled in behind her, tires crunching my gravel like they were announcing war. I ran outside, yelling, "What are you doing now?" She waved, "Morning, just checking the area." Checking the area, my garden looked like a battlefield. My mailbox leaned sideways, the flower beds were flattened. I started filming, every tire track, every smirk, every word. I had a plan forming. I couldn't just yell anymore. I needed proof, solid evidence. I started documenting every move. Phone cameras, timestamps, even notes in a notebook. My property became a surveillance zone. She didn't care. She drove across my driveway like it was a runway. One of her friends laughed, snapping a photo as if it were a fun outing. I felt my blood boil. This was beyond trespassing. This was intimidation. I called the HOA office. "She's back with backup this time." They sighed. "She's the president. You can't do anything." Can't do anything. My entire property was at stake. My sanity, my peace. I decided it was time to confront her. Not angrily, not rashly, but with strategy. I walked toward her, phone ready, filming. Every move, every word. "You're crossing the line," I said. "This is private property. You have no right." She tilted her head, smiling. "Private property? I'm HOA president. I make the rules." I wanted to throw my coffee at her. Instead, I stayed calm, tried to reason. She laughed. "Relax, you're overreacting." I was not even close. That night, I reviewed the footage, the angle of her tire tracks, The way she swerved near my flowers, the way her friends cheered her on. Every frame screamed one thing: she was doing it on purpose. The next morning I set up more cameras, motion sensors, even fake sprinklers, anything to catch her in the act. She came again, and this time she hit my new gate, twisted it, bent it like it was paper. I ran outside, fists clenched. Enough, this stops now. She waved like I was overreacting. Relax, I'll be careful, maybe. My neighbors were watching. Some whispered, she's crazy. Others stayed silent, afraid of HOA Karen's wrath. I realized I had to take action, not just for me, but for the entire neighborhood. I started contacting witnesses, taking sworn statements, every intrusion, every crash, every smirk. And then she escalated again. She drove onto the small hill behind my property, my private hill. Tires spinning, dust flying, almost tipping the SUV. I ran down the hill, heart in my throat. You're insane, get off my land. She laughed like I was joking. This is fun, you're too tense. I couldn't believe it. She was literally risking her life and blaming me for her mistakes. I started planning my next move. Cameras, legal documentation, neighbors' support. I needed every piece of proof. Because I knew one thing. If this kept going, she would either destroy property or try to frame me for it. And I wasn't about to let that happen. By the end of the week, the lawn was ruined. Tire tracks everywhere. Broken flowers, twisted gate, bent fences. My adrenaline was high. Every creak of tires on the gravel made me jump. Every shadow near the driveway set my heart racing. But one thing was clear. HOA Karen had gone too far. She wasn't just trespassing. She was making a show of it. And the next time, I had to be ready. Because she wasn't stopping, she was escalating. And I knew the real showdown was coming. I couldn't ignore it anymore. HOA Karen had crossed every line. My property, my peace, my sanity, it was all under attack. That morning, I decided it was time. Time to confront her, face to face. I walked outside, fists clenched, phone ready, cameras rolling. Every word, every move documented. And there she was, waiting, smiling, like she had planned this. I stopped a few feet from her car. Karen, we need to talk now. She tilted her head. Oh, about what? My morning stroll across your lawn. I swallowed my frustration. About every single time you've driven onto my property, every crash, every tire mark, every flower bed destroyed. She laughed, a high-pitched fake laugh that made my skin crawl. You're dramatic, she said. It's just property, relax. I clenched my jaw. It's not just property, it's my home, my family, my life, and you're destroying it. Her smile didn't falter. I'm HOA president, I make the rules, you think you can fight me. Fight her, oh, I could fight, but not with anger, not yet. I took a deep breath. This isn't about rules, it's about boundaries. You can't just destroy someone's property and blame them. She scoffed, blame you. I wouldn't do that, maybe it was an accident. An accident? She crashed into a power pole, tore through my gate, and almost flipped her SUV on my hill. I stepped closer, pointing at her tires. Look at the evidence. Every time the tire tracks match exactly where you went. You're doing this on purpose. She rolled her eyes. You're paranoid. Paranoid? The gnome in my flower bed disagreed. Broken in half, staring at me like it had a judgmental face. I had to stay calm. I had to be smart. I raised my phone. I'm documenting this, all of it. Every word you say, every move you make. The HOA, the neighbors, and the law, everyone will see this. Her eyes flicked to the phone. For a brief moment, I saw her hesitation. Then she smiled again like nothing could touch her. You think a few photos will stop me, she said. I've dealt with worse. I smirked despite the tension. Oh, we're past worse. This is personal now, and I've got witnesses, cameras, and logs. You can't deny this. She waved her hand dismissively. Witnesses, they'll take my side. I'm the HOA president. I laughed quietly, but enough to annoy her. Maybe in your fantasy world, out here, reality has other plans. The tension was electric. Every neighbor nearby was watching, phones in hand, whispering, waiting. Then she did something unexpected. She slammed her hand on the SUV hood. "You'll regret this." I raised my hand slowly. "Try me." For a moment it was like time froze. My adrenaline was through the roof, her ego about to collide with reality. And then she backed off, but not completely. She turned to leave, still muttering threats under her breath. I stood there, heart pounding, knowing this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. That day, I realized a few things. Karen was bold, dangerously bold. She thrived on chaos. I had to be smarter, faster, and ready for anything. Because the next time she came onto my property, it wasn't going to be a simple trespass. It would be a full-blown showdown. And I was ready. But what I didn't know, she had a trick up her sleeve. A trick that would shock everyone. Neighbors would talk about it for weeks. Some would cheer, some would hide. And me, I just had to survive it and turn it into my advantage. Because HOA Karen wasn't just breaking rules anymore. She was escalating to dangerous territory. And the next chapter, the one where she crosses the line completely. It was coming, and I had no idea how explosive it would be. I knew it was coming, I just didn't know how bad. It was early morning, fog clung to the lawn, my heart thumped like a drum. Then I heard it, tires screeching. Not a gentle roll this time, full speed. I ran outside, my stomach twisted. There it was, HOA Karen. SUV barreling straight across my yard, faster than ever. I froze. She didn't slow down, not at the gate, not near the flower bed, not even when she hit the hill behind my property. Crash. A loud metallic bang, sparks flew. The car hit the old power pole, it snapped halfway, leaning dangerously. Electricity arced, smoke rose. I shouted, "Karen, are you insane?" She climbed out unharmed, smiling, that same fake grin. And then she did it. "You did this," she screamed. I blinked. What? I was inside. She pointed at me, accusing. Neighbors started gathering, whispering, filming. "You sabotaged me," she yelled. "I was driving perfectly and you made me crash." My jaw dropped. This was ridiculous. I had footage, witness accounts, motion sensors, proof she had been reckless every single time. But could I convince the HOA or the cops? Her friends, 2 other SUV drivers, cheered her on, laughing like it was a game show. I ran closer. "Look at this, look at the tire marks, look at the pole, this is your fault." She waved me off. "No, you're lying, you did this. Everyone saw you near the driveway earlier." I gritted my teeth. This wasn't just trespassing anymore. This was dangerous and insane. The neighbors whispered, "Did she just blame him?" "Crazy. She's losing it." I pulled out my phone, filming every word, every motion, every threat. She lunged, shouting, "You'll regret this." I stayed calm, stepped back, kept filming, evidence. Everything mattered now. Electric sparks danced across the wet grass. Smoke swirled, my heart raced. I realized she wasn't just reckless. She was trying to intimidate me in front of everyone. And it worked for a second. My adrenaline spiked. I wanted to shout. I wanted to charge. But I didn't. I stayed cool, collected, calm. I had to. Neighbors were calling the utility company. Someone yelled, "Keep back, wires could fall." I filmed it all. Tire tracks, sparks, smoke, her smug face, proof beyond doubt. She started packing, muttering, blaming me over and over. "You did this. I swear it was your fault." I took a deep breath, focused, every motion, every word documented. Then she did something insane. She tried to drive away. Tires spinning in my mud, kicking up dirt, sparks from the broken pole scraping the SUV's side. I ran after her, shouted, "Stop, this is your fault." She looked at me, grinning. "You're insane, move." I stayed on her, filming, witnessing, recording. I knew I had everything I needed to fight back. By the time the utility company arrived, she had calmed down, sort of. Neighbors whispered in shock, He's going to win this. She's crazy. Did you see that? I realized something important. She was bold, too bold, but reckless, careless. And I had proof. I stayed calm, took more photos, more videos, every tire mark, every bent fence, every piece of evidence. Because HOA Karen wasn't just trespassing anymore. She was escalating. And the next time, it would be even worse. But this time I was ready. I had witnesses, cameras, logs, evidence she couldn't deny. And I knew the law finally was on my side. After the crash, I knew it was time. Not for yelling, not for confrontation. Time for strategy. I gathered all my evidence. Tire tracks, videos, photos, timestamps, every motion sensor clip, every witness statement. I even had footage of her laughing after crushing my gate. Proof she wasn't just careless, she was deliberate. I called an attorney, one who had dealt with HOA nightmares before. Document everything, he said. You need a paper trail so thick she can't wiggle out. I spent days compiling everything, every incident, every escalation, every crash. Then I served her notice. She read it, eyebrows raised. You're bluffing, she said. I was. The HOA meeting was set. The board, neighbors, and Karen herself were all there. I walked in, calm, collected, evidence ready. Every camera angle, every photograph, every log printed and organized. Karen sauntered in, smiling, like she owned the place. I've documented everything, I said, laying the photos on the table. Every tire mark, every trespass, every crash, every complaint ignored. She laughed. You're obsessive. You're paranoid. None of this matters. I ignored her, focused on the board. I am requesting that the HOA acknowledges her repeated trespassing and holds her accountable. Board members whispered to each other. Some avoided eye contact, some nodded subtly. Karen's smile faltered, a tiny crack in her armor. Objection, she shouted. This is ridiculous. You're harassing me. I pulled out the footage of her SUV hitting the power pole. Sparks flying, smoke, tire marks, proof beyond doubt. The board watched in silence. Even her friends couldn't deny it. I added the kicker. Neighbors can testify. I've logged every incident. This is documented, and she's blaming me for her own actions. Her face turned red. She sputtered. That's not true. I smiled quietly, calm. Every incident is on record, every complaint, every damage. The HOA can see it, everyone can see it. The tension in the room was electric. I could feel Karen realizing she had lost control, that she couldn't manipulate the narrative anymore. I continued. I am also requesting compensation for damages and that future trespasses result in fines and legal action. A pause, the board members exchanged glances. Finally, one spoke. We reviewed the evidence. The incidents are documented. Karen, you are in violation. You are responsible for all damages and must cease trespassing immediately. Karen gasped, her face pale. This isn't fair. I leaned back, calm, collected, victory quietly building inside me. Neighbors whispered excitedly. Some clapped softly. Some shook their heads in disbelief. Karen tried one last attempt at drama. You'll regret this. I smiled. No, Karen, you'll regret doing it to me. She stormed out, slamming doors, threats trailing behind her like smoke. I sat down, exhausted but victorious. Not only had I won legally, but I had exposed her lies, manipulation, and recklessness to the entire neighborhood. My attorney patted my shoulder. You played that perfectly. Evidence wins every time. I smiled. She underestimated me, thought she could bully me, thought she could intimidate me. And she was wrong. The neighborhood now knew the truth. My property was safe. My gnome, bent but alive, stood as a reminder. I still documented every day. Cameras, logs, motion sensors. Precaution, not paranoia. Because Karen wasn't the type to quietly accept defeat. She might try another move, another stunt. But I was ready. I had strategy, evidence, witnesses, and the law on my side. And the best part, Watching her realize she couldn't bully or blame me anymore, priceless. By the end of that week, the tension lifted slightly. HOA Karen was quiet, for now. And I could finally breathe. But I knew one thing for sure. The story wasn't over. There would be more stunts, more attempts at intimidation. And when they came, I'd be ready. Because I had learned something critical. HOA Karen may have had the title. But I had the proof, the strategy, and the will to fight back. And that was unstoppable. It was quiet that morning, too quiet. HOA Karen hadn't shown up in days. Not on my lawn, not at the driveway, not anywhere. I knew better than to relax. But I had a plan. One last check, one last sweep. Cameras on, logs ready, neighbors watching. I wanted to make sure she didn't try another stunt. Then I heard it, tires screeching, too fast, too deliberate. I ran outside, heart pounding, adrenaline high. She was back, but this time it was different. 2 SUVs, her friends again, circling my property like predators. I didn't panic, I stayed calm. My evidence was ready. Everything I needed was on record. I stepped forward. Karen, stop this now. She laughed, that fake, confident laugh. You think you can stop me? I raised my phone, camera rolling. Every angle, every motion, every word. Neighbors gathered, phones in hand. Witnesses ready. I walked slowly toward her SUV. Calm, steady, eyes locked on hers. You've already lost, I said. Everything is documented. The HOA knows. Everyone knows. You can't intimidate anyone anymore. Her grin faltered, just a little. She shouted, you'll regret this. I'm the president. I smirked, president of what? Chaos, destruction, not anymore. Then it happened. The first SUV tried to swing across my driveway. Tires spun in the mud. I filmed it. Evidence. Her second SUV followed. Tires sliding dangerously. Sparks from the old power pole crackled nearby. I stood my ground, calm, collected. Then the neighbors stepped forward. Stop, one shouted. You've gone too far. Others joined, witnesses. Their presence made the difference. She tried one last desperate move, revving the engine, pretending she could scare us off. But the motion sensors, cameras, logs, and witness statements caught everything. The HOA board arrived, quick, decisive. They had seen the evidence, every crash, every trespass, every escalation. Karen froze. For the first time, her confidence cracked. You're violating every rule, the HOA chair said. Immediate fines, responsibility for all damages, and zero access to private properties without permission. She sputtered, that's not fair. I smiled quietly, calm, satisfied. Yes, I said, it is fair. You treated my property like a racetrack. You destroyed fences, flower beds, and even a gnome. You even blamed me for your mistakes. The board nodded, clear, firm, irrefutable. Karen stomped off, muttering threats, but no one listened. Neighbors clapped quietly, smiles, nods, relief. I walked over to my driveway gate, bent, scratched, but standing. I looked at the flower beds, flattened, bruised, but repairable. And I smiled, my property, my home, my life safe. I thought about all the mornings I spent worrying, watching, fearing her next move. Now it was over. Karen had no power here, none. I even patched up the gnome, a little crooked now but still standing, a symbol. By the end of the week, life returned to normal. The lawn recovered, neighbors waved, smiles, peace. HOA Karen tried to fight back later, filing small complaints, trying intimidation. I had cameras, logs, and witnesses. Every attempt failed, every move documented. I had learned the most important lesson. When someone tries to bully, intimidate, or blame you for their chaos, the best defense is proof, strategy, calm determination, and patience. Because in the end, truth and preparation win. Karen left the neighborhood eventually, quietly, without a word. I stood on my porch, coffee in hand, sun rising over my lawn. The flowers were blooming, the gate repaired, my home peaceful. I laughed softly, finally relief. HOA Karen may have thought she could intimidate me. But she underestimated one thing, someone willing to stand their ground and fight smart. And that made all the difference. My property, my peace, and my sanity were safe. Victory tasted sweet. And I knew, if she ever tried again, I'd be ready. You've heard this confession, now wait until you hear the next one. The truth that shatters everything you thought you knew.